Hey guys.
What's happening?
Welcome back to the Yet Lyrian Love podcast. I'm your girl, Hey Love.
I'm DJ Treesy Trees.
Hey babe.
Hey, babe, how are you?
I'm good. My feet are cold, and I really wish I would have asked you to put lotion on my feet before we started.
Me too, girl. Me too.
I'ma just
Looking dry.
keep them low.
Girl, it looked like a flip flop print right there.
You know I don't go nowhere without my Ivy Park
I see
slides.
you. You have a 10, 10, 10,
10 10
10.
10 10. So, y'all know I am an avid reader, whether or not I am listening to the book or reading the book. Also, side note, we are puppy parents, and I feel like everyone knows that at this point. So, if you hear Brody like going berserk, it's because when we're here with you recording, we are neglecting him, and that's his puppy talk for why am I out here? I am a private school puppy. Please let me into the house and then onto the couch. So, just a small disclaimer. This week in my reading, I came across the topic of more versus enough.
Elaborate on that for me.
Okay. And I'm bringing this to Therese. This is our first time talking about it. And I also want to hear what you all think about this concept as well. So, in the book Unleashing the Soul of Money by Lynn Twist, and it's Lynnne, Twist regular spelling, she really gets into the root of how people think about money, how people interact with money, how over time we've gone from citizens to consumers, and how that has just really been detrimental to our society. So she starts to talk about the concept of more versus enough. And I don't think this is the first time I've heard this concept, because I had a professor in college that was always talking about enough and how you don't need an overabundance of anything, you don't need a lot of anything, you just need enough, right? So, as she's talking about more versus enough in terms of money, I began to think about it in all other aspects of life, right? So I'm immediately like, every time you talk to someone who is older and married and they're like trying to give you advice that you don't ask for 10 times out of 10, BT dubs, they talk about communication. And they're like, talk about everything. Every little thing that bother you, talk about it. You can't have enough oh no, you can't have too much communication. There's no such thing as too much communication. And so applying this principle of more versus enough, I'm like, there definitely is a such thing as too much communication, in my opinion, because if we are efficiently and honestly and concisely getting to the point of whatever conversation we're trying to have, whatever issue or concern we're trying to solve or address, too much communication is a thing.
I think so as well, just because I think that too much, if you start communicating too much or asking, I usually ask too many questions. So, just to give y'all a backstory, I over communicate just to make sure there are no discrepancies in the way that we're deciphering things, just because our brains work completely different.
Yeah.
She'll say something to me and I'm like, well, I thought this. And she's like, how could you think that? I think this. And it's just because the way that we process information is a lot different. I'm
Mhm.
instant gratification kind of girl. I'm like, hey, the quickest way point A to point B is this. So I just did this. I figured you want this. So I just went ahead and did this, when all the time that's not what's called for or what's even necessary at times. So over communicating is mad annoying, one, and mad tiring for the person who's doing it, because then I feel like I'm not making any decisions. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm just asking you, what do you think? Well, what do you think? Well, okay, well, I'm just making sure I communicate with you on this. And, instead
Mhm.
of there's a time and a place for decision making together,
Mhm.
versus that's how I'm taking this whole communication thing.
More
Over
versus
communicate.
enough.
Yeah, more versus enough.
Yeah, I agree. I think with more communication, you do start to get into that area of, am I getting what I want out of this conversation? Whereas if you have enough communication, all of your communicative needs are met. All of your questions are answered. Um, Everything kind of falls into place. But you have to be in a space, in my opinion, to be able to do that. And that comes down to honesty. That comes down to being transparent and uncomfortable sometimes. I do daily meditations and intentions and self care practices and things like that. And I write it down. And for the past about 2 weeks or so, I've been writing down. I intend to have the conversations that I need to and to be comfortable with being uncomfortable in them, because not all conversations are going to be easy, right?
Yeah, and for me, honestly, I think that it's the goal of the conversation. That's
Yeah.
how you figure out if it's necessary or not necessary.
Yeah.
Just, ask yourself before you start the conversation, what's my goal here? And 9 times out of well, not 9 times out of 10, but if the goal is I'm trying to say this to show her that I'm right, or
Yeah.
that I was right, or that's usually my fault, by the way. So I'm like I'm usually like, oh, I'm about to bring this back up because there was a fault in there. You can eliminate those conversations,
Mhm.
and conversations that don't have a common goal can be eliminated. Because sometimes I have conversations with you, and you like, well, what's my takeaway here?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I was just talking out loud. I thought I wanted you to say something back, but really I didn't. So that's a good check and balance in actual practice to say, what's my goal in this conversation?
Yeah.
Because then if the goal isn't a mutual thing, then it's probably less communication there is enough.
This is true. And I think it too depends on what area you're talking about, this more versus enough. Like, I immediately started to think about communication. More communication isn't always great. Enough communication is, if done correctly and, with all the things that I just said previously in place, can be great. But let's get spicy. More versus enough with sex,
Here we go. Here we go.
right?
Okay, what you mean? Like more sex versus? Oh, I can see. I can see. Okay,
Right?
I can see what you're saying.
Okay, so this is where my brain is going. Depending on where you and your partner are in your sexual journey, more sex could be valid. It could be something that you all are working towards, because there's a lack, right? There's a scarcity of sex. So instead of you coming in on the side of the more versus enough, you know, question as, oh no, enough sex is great. If you're not having whatever the adequate amount of sex is for you and your partner, then you may need to have more sex.
Yeah, I think that my past traditional way of thinking it is more sex is always better. I'm just being real. I mean, that's just how I specifically would say it. But
Of
now,
course.
no, I don't. I don't really view that as being valid anymore. Just because I think that enough amount of sex and the kind of sex that you're having can be enough.
Yeah.
Like
I
with
like that.
without having quantity, it's really quality over quantity kind of thing.
Yeah.
But past Treese, I mean, like 3 months ago, Treese would say that more is always best, but I don't really see that to be true anymore, because then, like, say for instance, my view is more sex is better and your view isn't more sex is better.
Yeah.
I'm just stressing you out trying to have sex every 15 minutes, which
Yeah.
then causes strain, which is not getting me to my common goal of more sex anyway.
This is true. I think it all kind of comes full circle, because going back to the communication piece of it, if you're communicating to me that you want more sex, more sex, more sex, and I'm communicating to you like, I think we're having enough sex, then that takes it out to a completely different level. Like,
Yeah, I can agree. I can agree. But I don't think I really recognized that as a valid truth before, to be honest. I've
yeah.
evolved into that just because, I mean, the quality of sex gets better when you don't stress out about it, to be honest, and you kind of let it happen.
Girl.
Listen, I spoke my piece. I said what I said.
Is that your final take on more versus enough?
I mean, we can talk about um, financially, because I'm always
Ooh,
chasing more money. I can tell you
yeah.
that constantly. I work in
And
sales. I'm an entrepreneur. I have no shortage of ideas. I have no shortage of revenue opportunities for myself, you know. So I'm always chasing more, more, more. But here recently, I've decided, well, not decided, I've seen, and we've talked about, you know, some jobs and opportunities just aren't worth the money for the stress and the amount of work I got to put into it and the amount of time that I'm away from home. So enough money. And then the thing about it is once I switch that in my mind, I got more money than I ever had.
yeah.
Yeah. Adding that to financial.
Yeah. I my take on it is very similar. I think a lot of the times on our journey right now to figure out how we want to be financially, like what does financially stable look like? What does financially free look like? Um the question kind of gets brought up like, okay, well, how much money is enough money? And not like day-to-day money, like overall, do we need $100 million? Do we need $60 million? Are we going to be good with just $5 to $10 million? Like, I think for me, I need to know what my lifestyle is going to look like, right? So if I'm saying, oh, well, $5 to $10 million is enough, okay, is that including all of the vacations that I want to go on now all the way until I die? Because that means I need to look up all inclusive resorts in Bora Bora and in St. Thomas and make sure that, oh, okay, we can spend $30,000 on a vacation and that makes sense and it's not extravagant. It's not a splurging. It's no, this is our vacation. We're here for 2 weeks. We're here for a month. Everything's already paid for. Transportation, excursions, activities, dinners, all of that is included. So I don't think that you can accurately say how much money is enough without knowing the bits and pieces that goes into it because there's so much that is going to dictate, you know, what is enough money. Though I do side more with enough money as opposed to more money because I think more money kind of keeps you on this hamster wheel. And that's also something Lynn Twist talks about in the book. Like, even billionaires have money problems and they're like, how do I get more money? How do I get more, 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 more? And if I can just figure out what enough looks like for me and for us and the life that we're building, that would be enough. No pun intended.
For me, I want enough money to do all the things that I want to do.
Amen.
That's what
Financial
I'm saying.
freedom.
I don't want to have to think twice about something. I don't want to have to uh not go without equipment that I want. I'm a DJ, you know, I'm always coming out with something new, something fresh, new speakers, whatever. So my goal is to have enough revenue to be able to spend money and go on trips and travel and
Eat
honestly,
delicious food.
she talking about eat delicious food. I don't even care about the food. I'm here. She do. I go eat with her, but I'm mostly saying, and the funny thing about it is when I boil it all down, I'm actually saying that I just want to make enough money to do the work that I want to do. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? To work in my purpose and to give as much to my career because I feel like it's just not my career is just not, you know, a job for me. It's what I was put on this earth here to do. So I need to have enough money to feel like I'm fulfilling my purpose. And for me, that means fame and fortune. That means having a driver. That means having people to
Yes.
set up my equipment. That means all of those things which I'm willing to grow and work hard to get to, but I'm not going after it just so I can splurge and wear chains and I even though I'm getting some chains.
Oh,
But I really want to
wow.
do it just to be the best in my arena and to continue to grow and build on top of my craft. And if I don't have enough money to do that, I'm frustrated and feeling like I don't have. But the one thing that I can say is, you know, being present and focusing on the things that you do have gets you closer to that goal. So
Absolutely.
just being grateful for what you have gets you way farther than being like, well, I ain't got $1 million right now. I ain't got a driver. Nah, but I got a pickup truck that I love, and I ride around town, and I be getting it. You know what I mean? So just enjoying where I'm at, but knowing where I'm going, and expecting that money to come to me, 'cause it is.
Absolutely. I just, for the record, I too love the pickup truck. Um, Screaming or scream singing country songs, one of my favorite pastimes. Okay, in a pickup truck. Okay, nothing gets better. So we want to know what y'all think. What's your take on more versus enough? Whether it be you talking about your relationships, whether it be you talking about your sex life, whether it be you talking about your financial standing. What do you think? Where are you at? Does it vary? Is it all the same and you just want more and more and more? You like, man, we ain't reading these books you reading. I ain't listening to the old girl twisty twist. I want more and more and more. Or are you content with where you're at right now, grateful for where you are right now, and you're like, enough is enough. That's all I need. All I need is enough to get by. Let us know. The At Lyrian Love Podcast, Facebook, Instagram. We want to know.
Thank y'all for watching, and we'll see y'all next episode.